All right, and we're back. Sunday Funday, the Sunday Funday show. It's your host Guy, and I got Dillon on the podcast again this week.
Surprise, everyone.
Surprise, no surprise. Unfortunately, Ariel and Gary couldn't
Gary.
make it.
Yeah, I just want it to be known, because I know they're going to drag me through the mud on the group chat, but I want it to be known that I was cool with hosting them and them using my microphone and all this good stuff and having a comfortable place to give the podcast at 5, but Betancourt, our audio, who, he says I can be there at 6:30, which is already too late for me because I got stuff to do at home. But he is notoriously late, always. We're talking 30 minutes to an hour late. So that 6:30 turns into 7:30, and then it's already like an hour-long process to record the podcast. And so couldn't do it. But hey, next week, if you guys can do 5 o'clock, I am more than happy to host you. I will go chill in the living room. You guys use it, and you handle it. But couldn't do it this week. So I'm on. Hello.
All right, it's not a problem. We'll just power through it, just the two of us yet again.
We're
But
getting better at it.
yeah, we are. We'll try to keep it at 30 minutes today. Let's see if we can do it. So let's go right into the power rankings.
Cool. So this week, Guy, no surprise there. 3-0, gotta be at the top spot. But what's interesting is that first and second place, only separated by 1 point per game, same overall win record. Consistencies are at 1-3, rest of season strength 2-4. 94% playoff odds for McGee, 89% for my dad owns a dealership. But rightfully so, the only loss my dad owns a dealership to, one of those 3 potential losses all year, was to McGee. So can't be mad about that, but
Nope.
I'm glad I'm in the 2 spot.
Just got to be more clutch, man. Got to win the
Yep.
games that count.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm not mad with my 2 spot. The 1 spot I was kind of surprised to see is Priapism dropped all the way to
Yeah,
5.
what's that about?
Yeah, I don't know what the power rankings are thinking here because that average is still really high. I think he gets penalized because of the division, because of the rest of season roster strength is low and the consistency is low. Both of those are 5, meaning middle of the pack. So I think they're kind of trying to say, he had a great start, but he's going to kind of even out to the mean, if you will, like get to the middle of the pack with that consistency and
So,
roster
so
strength.
what's going on is they don't think this team is as good as what he's scored so far.
Right. They think it's an average team considering that rest of season roster strength, and but that playoff odd's still pretty high because when you start a season with 2 wins, 3 wins, you're sitting pretty nice because again, there's only 12 games in the season, so it's pretty nice.
Right. And what's up with H-Bug? Why is Holden going up a spot?
Again, let's look at that rest of season roster strength. Joe Buck, number 10. And then H-Bug is actually number 7. And I think the system is giving him credit for those injuries.
That's
That
what
if
has to
they
be
were
it.
to come back, he's looking pretty nice. So Holden is trying to weather the storm, but we'll get to this later in the show. But I have a what the fuck about Holden. Of course, no shocker there. But apparently, the computer says he has a roster that can win some games later. But I think it might be too late, especially because of those playoff odds. 6%.
That's rough, man. 6% to make it.
That's Holden, dude.
He really needs to make some changes on his wide receiver core, and if his running backs get healthy, he can string some wins, though.
Yeah, and I don't want to hear any like bitching and moaning because I'm looking over here at Martian Law 1-2, 14-13 overall wins, and he has Le'Veon Bell sitting the bench, his number 1 pick in the draft. So he's managed to put up decent points without his number 1 pick. So
That he has.
he's making it work.
That he has. He has a really good team. I mean, it's 162 point per game. Is not at that elite level that you have myself. My dad owns a dealership, and House of Priapism at. But 160 is that next tier.
And here's a question for you, since you're a Bucks fan, and I didn't want to talk too much about this Le'Veon Bell thing, but let's say hypothetically Le'Veon Bell goes to the Bucks. What kind of production can we see on a fantasy?
I don't think you're going to see the kind of production they had on the Steelers just because Ryan Fitzpatrick does not check down. You
Okay.
know, he like the whole thing with the Steelers is they used them very heavily in the passing game, and the Buccaneers just run a very vertical offense, a lot of max protect, and I don't know if that's because they don't trust Peyton Barbers with his hands and they think he's a really good blocker, or if they really just want to free up that time for Deshaun Jackson and Mike Evans to get open deep. So I'm really not too sure what his production would be on the Bucks.
I mean, you have to admit, you have to kind of assume that if the Bucks made a move to go get him, they change up their scheme to suit him. I mean, you don't pay him that much money or go all in on a 1 year rental without making some hardcore changes. But I think Jameis would have the best, impact from having Bell on the team because now he doesn't have to, like you were saying, chuck it downfield, which he can't really do.
Right. Oh, that's
And
his
so I think
weakness.
Bell and Winston makes sense.
And that's the thing. Here's the thing that I'm having a problem with. So, the Buccaneers are supposedly rumored to be in the hunt for Bell, but they don't have the cap space to grab Bell. So they're going to have to cut someone. And I can't see who they would have cut in order to bring another player in. My super spicy take is the Buccaneers would trade Jameis Winston
Yes.
to
And
the
I'm
Steelers.
100% on that train.
And I think it makes sense for both teams. And I just don't think Jason Light, the general manager of the Buccaneers, would make that move because that's one of those pride things. You know, he drafted that quarterback to be the face of the franchise, and it's kind of rough to like take it back. Like, oh, I messed up. He's not the right guy. You know?
And I think he can get away with saying, "Oh, he's not the right guy for these off the field issues," because now you're going to actually save face. I think you're like, "No, we don't tolerate that." I think it's a little too late anyway. He should have, if he was going to do this, he should have done it a lot earlier.
Right.
But, if he were to say that and say, you know what, we just couldn't see eye to eye. He had his run, but you save that, and the Steelers, looking at their perspective, they need a quarterback of the future.
They do, and they always, coming into the draft, Jameis Winston was always Big Ben. Like they have so many similarities.
Yes.
The body frame, the big arm. They have good accuracy with their tight throws in middle of the field and close windows. They're both sexual predators. Like the list goes on. So if anyone were to replace Big Ben, Jameis would be the perfect candidate, and that's why I personally see this trade happening. Again, it would have to be on the general managers.
Right. Right. And imagine, putting an analogy with baseball. The Astros took this the closer from the Blue Jays who had this really bad domestic assault charge on him, and the Astros fans were really against the move because they were like, "You're bringing in a known offender." So I'm
Right.
thinking, would the Steelers fans do the same thing? Like, how we already went through this with Big Ben, and now you're bringing in Jameis? Like, come on. So they also have to weigh the optics of what it's going to look like for making this move.
I don't think the fans will mind that much. Today's day and age, I don't know what it is about Tampa Bay fans, a bunch of cousin fuckers as far as I'm concerned. If just go to the Buccaneers subreddit, man, and they are all about Jameis. I don't know how you can be so defensive of a guy who's sexually
You have to
assaulted.
remember,
women.
though, Tampa Bay fans, there's a ton of Florida State fans.
That's
And,
true.
and I'm a Florida State guy, and they will defend until the day they die. But here's the thing: he's run the course for me.
Oh,
I'm
100%.
a huge Jameis fan. He's won us a national title in college, but and I went through the legitimate crazy Title IX case in college. I went through the crab legs. I went through all this stuff, and I'm like, what? Jameis is just a kid, whatever. And finally, I've had enough. I'm done with him. Exiled from the family for me. And so I've given up. But I think there's a lot of people on the subreddit that are those Florida State loyalists that will look past what you should look at and care too much about football.
Yeah, it's true. And what bugs me, too, is that I don't even think Jameis is a better quarterback for the team. Like, you can make the argument that Jameis is possibly a better quarterback. I can agree. It's just I don't think Jameis fits the scheme. Like we've had 3 years now of us trying to run this vertical offense where he just can't hit his deep passes.
Right.
Like he's one of the most inaccurate deep pass throwers in the NFL, and he's one of the highest like deep pass throwers in the NFL. He throws them a lot, and he's very inaccurate at it.
Hmm.
So I don't know. I mean, Fitzpatrick came in, and he's showing what he can do now with his deep passes and his accuracy, and it's working out very well. Let's see if people catch on and start game planning against it.
Right. And the one thing I do worry, it's like Fitzpatrick always has these stretches of just like, wow, he can play quarterback, but there's a reason he's been on 8 teams, whatever. There's a reason he can't hold a starting job. The stats show that he does have that inaccuracy, the gunslinger mentality that gets him in trouble, as we saw on Monday night. So
I don't even think it's inaccuracy. I just think he just tries too hard. And that's like the same thing that Jameis does. He tries too hard, and it causes turnovers. It's the same
Right.
exact mentality. Fitzpatrick does the same thing.
yeah, I mean Jameis since college has had the hubris problem where he's like, I can make every throw.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's like, oh, that window? Got it. But it's like literally no window.
I don't mind those throws at all, really. The problem that bothers me is like when you see Deshaun Jackson have like 6 steps in front of like the defender, and then he still throws an interception. That's what blows my mind.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
Oh, anyway, let's move on. So we checked out here the power rankings. Let's go ahead and check out our waivers transactions.
Mm-hmm. You know what's funny is, as last night we were looking at the waivers, and I'm like, man, I can make a move, and I'll divulge some of my thought process. I was thinking about picking up Chris Carson,
Yeah,
and I was thinking about it because I'm like, okay, he's looking really strong. I mean, he had what, 30 carries last game or something?
32.
And, yeah, which is absurd.
Mhm.
And I was thinking about dropping actually Corey Clement, or Clement, however you pronounce it, just because if J.J. comes back, and the way I saw it though, this was Corey Clement's like ceiling.
Right.
What we saw, like if you can't do more than 12 points against the Colts on a week that you're the primary back, like.
But
that's you. That's like you got to show out.
that was his game. Everybody else was hurt. Like he had to do it.
And so, and I get that they were doing the whole Smallwood thing, but he was more replacing Darren Sproles. Clement was replacing Jay Ajayi, the
Right.
every down back. And
Right.
I'm like, that just discouraged me. And I know I just traded for him, but it was an experiment. I know he put up 22 on Tampa, but that's because he had a touchdown, 2 of them, right?
Yep.
No, or just 1.
This one.
Okay, but if he's not scoring touchdowns, he's not scoring points, and so it's a high risk, high reward, I guess you could say. But man, if there was a week to show out, that was it, and so that just discouraged me. So I was thinking, do I get a running back? And then I look at the news about Alvin Kamara. He's hurt. They listed him on the questionable list. Now, obviously, it's Wednesday. It was limited practice, so I assume he's going to be just fine because he carried it 30 damn times. But which made me like, ooh, do I contact Chalupa Batman and say, hey, what do you want for Mark Ingram? Because that would be
That'd be an
thought.
interesting one to carry both of them in there.
Right, because, I mean, one of them gets hurt, I got the other one, and that's a team that's going to put up points.
And you can afford to lose a game here. Chalupa Batman might want to step it up. So in the now instead of waiting, kind of sucks when you draft a player who's suspended and then just right about it he's going to come back. You trade him away.
Right, so that's why I don't think she'd get rid of him, especially coming fresh legs 4 weeks in, and Kamara's hurt. It's like the perfect storm for Ingram.
Right. Man, oh man. So let's go ahead and get into these. So Dean picked up Chris Carson. That was like the number 1 waiver on pretty much
So I
everybody's.
wasn't going to get him anyway.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
No. I'm surprised it took so long to for somebody to pick up Jakeem Grant. Kid looked really good on Sunday.
That's from Miami, right?
Yeah. Now,
Yeah,
I know he had like the big run or whatever, but
yeah.
he had the speed that they're like, ooh, if Miami's smart, which I mean they're 3-0, they would be like, let's put him in some more plays
Yeah, maybe they will.
because I mean that was some that was world class speed
And
right
this
there.
is like the second week that he's done this as well.
Now I know, and before everybody jumps on the Dolphins bandwagon, and by the way, did you notice that every Florida team was undefeated last week? Like everybody was 2-0.
Yep,
That was pretty cool. But the Dolphins have played nobody.
that's true.
They have the easiest 3-0 schedule. So don't all jump on the Dolphins bandwagon, please. That's all I'm saying.
They're not that good.
No. So we'll see with Tannehill, reverts to the mean and turns back into a pumpkin.
Oh man, that would suck for Dolphin fans, but I honestly believe it's gonna happen.
Yeah, I mean, especially once the Patriots get their legs under them and the Bills look okay. I don't know. That just brought me back memories of Sunday.
So I'm looking here at the waiver wires. Alfred Morris got picked up. Hasn't really done much this year.
Yeah, it looks like they're going to have to rely on him a little bit more, which is funny that brings me up to the George Kittle situation. And I'm like, talking about the 49ers and Jimmy G's injury, that the new quarterback, C.J. Beathard, he actually went to Iowa. They both went to Iowa, George Kittle and Beathard, and they got the Iowa connection. So I'm thinking that out of all the players that lose value because of Jimmy G's injury, I think Kittle remains high.
Man, you really want Kittle to succeed, don't you?
The Iowa connection, man. When Beathard came in after Jimmy G's injury, he still got targeted 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll see
see,
if
we'll
my theory plays true.
Talking about Garoppolo getting injured, so Marshall dropped him immediately. Picked up Matt Ryan. That's a great pickup. He's on fire right now.
Absolutely. I mean, I won more money on FanDuel from you guys because of Matt Ryan.
God damn it.
Undefeated. Let's go.
Got some kicker trading going on. Tyler Boyd finally got picked up. It's been pretty good.
That John Ross kid, does anybody have him yet?
He hasn't done anything.
I mean, that kid looks good, though. I mean, he's always been fast, but if they can get him going, that's a decent receiver, especially being the third option. He could get some sneaky touchdowns.
Maybe.
I think I just gave Robert a gigantic boner, by the way.
Oh, man. Oh, Robert. Super excited. Somebody took up your Andy Dalton, though. Robert, why aren't you,
I know. What is up with that?
why don't you have him on your team? What's going on?
I had him to begin with, but I'm so happy Mahomes is working out.
Oh, that Mahomes. He is,
Talk about a beast.
he's proving
Did
me
you
wrong.
see that one where he ran like backwards? He did some flag football maneuvers at quarterback and
Yeah.
made the Aaron Rodgers throw to the back of the end zone.
Yeah.
Ugh. Ugh. I know.
It's
Gary
unreal.
just got hard on that one.
So unreal.
It is.
And apparently, Breaker of Chains put Andrew Luck on the trading block.
Interesting. Don't know what's his value? What do you say his value is? Andrew Luck. What could you get for him?
Not much, man. There's so many, like we were just talking about this, there are so many good quarterbacks on the waiver wire from week to week, and Andrew Luck is just a name, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't. I've. And you know what's even more sad? Did you watch the end of the game where they had to do the Hail Mary and took him out?
Yeah.
So Jacoby Brissett could throw it, and I'm like, oh, that's sad. I get it. He can't, you don't want him to throw out his arm on one deep pass, but it's still, the optics of that are pretty bad.
This is what bugs me, right? So he can't use his full arm strength, so why is he on the field?
Yeah, I mean, I guess him at 50, 60, 70% is better than anyone they got, so.
Is he? I mean, he's thrown for 180 yards and 164 yards the last 2 weeks.
Right.
I mean,
What were the defenses he went against?
Washington and then Philly.
Okay. Not terrible defenses.
Not terrible, but
And I can say, though, they had shots to win them both.
that. Well, they did beat Washington. They did not beat the Eagles. That was pretty
Right.
close.
But that Eagles game could have easily went to the...
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's more about Carson Wentz being half hurt, too.
So let's go ahead and recap last week.
Okay.
step into right where the game of the week, House of Priapism against Captain McGee.
And it didn't disappoint.
Did not disappoint, came right down the wire. It was a 10-point difference in the end. Ryan Fitzpatrick with that deep bomb touchdown, and Mike Evans sealed the deal for me.
It was really funny because halfway through that game, I was watching Monday night, and I'm like, man, that all the eggs in one basket thing isn't paying off. But then all of a sudden, the second half happened.
Yep. Okay, man. Deshaun Jackson didn't really do much for me, but it's all right. I just needed Mike Evans and Ryan Fitzpatrick to do something. So that was good. And Jimmy Smith is just a monster. He's getting so many targets every single game. Now he's playing out of the slot.
Mm-hmm.
That was really close.
All around, though, it was a low-scoring week. And like we said in the group chat, it's probably because the defenses are finally gelling and they're seeing game tape from 2 weeks. So
Right, doing some adjustments and everything.
Yep. So I think this is I don't know if this is kind of the outlier. I think this might have been too low. I think we're still going to see scores like the 180s and the 190s. So I just think this week was really low.
It's low even for last season, you know.
Yeah.
And so the next game here is you have H-Bug versus Montana Musket Loaders.
Montana. Sneaky 2-1 team. Haven't talked about him too much.
And he's scoring good, too. He scored a 160 this week, carried by Cam Newton. 4 touchdowns by Cam.
Now you have to acknowledge that he could have scored 103 and won this game.
Let's look at Holden's team. Drew Brees, and then nobody.
Yeah.
Literally nobody. I mean, Jordan Reed.
Can we get to my what the fuck of the week real quick?
Yeah, go for it. Shoot it.
All right, here we go. So do you have his team pulled up?
Yeah, well, I'm looking at the game right now.
Okay, cool. Let's look at his bench. You got 4 dudes. 3 of them would be starting right now. McCoy, Fournette, Cook. Baldwin, got his weeks. But you are rostering 3 quarterbacks on a team that needs points. Like, you gotta find something better than Garcon. You gotta find something better than Marshall. You gotta find something better than Rashad Penny. Like,
and those players are
quarterbacks.
there. Well, let's look at wide receivers right now. Look, Mike Williams from the Chargers, number 1, scored 24 points last week, and it's not like it was a surprise. He had a 13-point and a 10-point game. You know, the 2 weeks before. That's better than any wide receiver he has on his team. He could have just picked it up from the waiver wire.
Right. And out of all the positions to corner the market with, it's not quarterback, dude. Like, we can stream quarterbacks. You can't roster enough quarterbacks that's going to corner the market. We only roster 1. They're all around the same point, output. Like, I get the strategy. I get it. But you got to know when to throw in the towel on the strategy.
It's not going to work.
Get rid of Cousins or Goff or Breeze. Now, obviously, you're not getting rid of Breeze, so get rid of Cousins. I don't see anyone trading for Goff, even though he's a great quarterback for fantasy.
Very good.
Maybe you can find some low-value trade just to get something, but I don't see much.
Package him in there with somebody.
Yeah, it's going to be a 2-for-1, but you got to get something. Those wide receivers are so bad, Holden. That and I get it. That running back system you got looks real good, especially if Josh Allen can keep LaShawn McCoy from, carrying too much. But man, dude, do something there. That's my what the fuck of the week.
I got to do something, Holden. And it sucks that your best players are all injured. I mean, that's really rough, but you haven't done anything else to help you out.
Right. And when you have a combined, what is this, 1, 5, 6, 7, 8, 12 points from 4 positions. Ugh.
That's rough.
And it's not like it was an anomaly. We're talking Brandon Marshall's like the 4th wide receiver on that team. Garcon has nobody throwing to him anymore.
Word on the street is that Captain McGee kind of wants Jordan Reed.
Ooh. And you're talking to a person that loves to trade, so there you go.
Yeah, maybe Holden can come at me. And don't trade rate me. Don't even try, buddy. Had enough. So we'll go on to the next game. My dad owns a dealership against Marshall Law.
Like I said at the beginning or the last podcast, this is always going to be a rivalry match for me, at least. It feels like Marshall Law and I have the thing going. But I'm glad I came out on top. I was the highest scoring team of the week with a 169, so that felt good.
I think you had the highest optimum as well this week.
188, yeah.
Yeah. So
I mean, Buck Allen. I mean, who knew Chris Thompson was only going to get 4 points? I mean, I don't think anybody could have saw that coming.
Buck Allen got 2 touchdowns. Like,
Yeah.
it's whatever.
But 4 points from Chris Thompson, a receiving back in a PPR league. Ugh.
Yeah, that blew my mind. I had him off FanDuel. That killed me.
Yep. Yeah, nobody. I didn't see that coming.
Oh, buddy. Hey, but Kittle's doing all right.
Yeah, like I said, Kittle's looking solid, especially if Beathard has that Iowa connection I'm talking about. I was actually happy to see that Quincy Enunwa didn't do much, and that the Eagles didn't severely just have a Bears-like week last week, like against me when you had the Bears. So the Eagles didn't do much. What's funny is the Vikings got destroyed and still scored more points than the Eagles did. And then AJ Green getting hurt obviously was a fortunate event for me, not for him. But I mean, it was a good game, and I'm happy that on a down week, because this is officially a down week, I had 2 guys score under 10 points. 3 guys score under 10 points. So I'm happy that I could still pull out the win. So I think I have a really strong team, which the power rankings show.
Yeah, you do. And it's really on the back of Alvin Kamara. The guy is a monster,
Yeah.
and Patrick Mahomes is
And
looking
I
pretty good, too.
will admit, I am afraid that when Ingram comes back, how much does that production go down?
It might go down to quite a bit.
Right. So we'll see.
Let's go on to the next game. This game was the closest game we had last week. Stumtavius Roboclick against Breaker of Chains. Breaker of Chains pulls it out by only 2 points, thanks to a very clutch 100% coach rating.
Yeah, I mean, and here's the thing. It wasn't a cheap 100, so I'm giving props to the Breaker of Chains on this one. He had only 2 injured guys on his bench, so that means he had to make good decisions here.
Yep, he benched Larry Fitzgerald. He benched Royce Freeman, even though Royce Freeman still scored 15.4.
Yeah.
But, he still
But,
chose.
I mean, you look at his scoring, I mean, he chose correctly.
He did choose correctly. And then we'll come right into my what the fuck of the week.
Yes.
Stumtavius Roboclick.
Mm-hmm.
How many times are you going to play Russell fucking Wilson instead of Aaron Rodgers?
I think he's in the camp of Aaron Rodgers has a torn ACL and that he's gonna die at one point.
I'm not saying Breaker of Chains doesn't have a good team. He does. But one of his best players, Joe Mixon, is out with an injury.
Mm-hmm.
He has Gio Bernard to pick up the slack. But
Speaking of, you're welcome.
this team just is not pumping like I thought it was. I was really high on this team coming into the season. It's just not pumping out the points that I thought it would. The wide receivers are very meh. Running backs are pretty good, even though considering, the injuries.
And what really sucks is when you put all your eggs in that Antonio Brown basket and he's ranked in the teens, you're in trouble.
Juju, man, it's taking all the targets.
Yeah, I mean, and here's the thing: I'm not watching enough Steelers tape to understand if Antonio's just drawing so much attention, or if Juju's just getting more open. He's getting more separation.
I just think Juju's that good.
Yeah,
Just think he's that
there's
good.
something about the Steelers in producing wide receivers, man.
Yeah.
Don't know how they do it.
Stumtavius, you should have won this game, man. You should have won this game. All you had to do is start Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah,
That's
so
all you
that's
had to
6
do.
more points. Yep. Or I mean, and here's the thing, and I think he should have won this game if the Vikings didn't lay an absolute egg, because that Latavius Murray, since we were down, and I say we, the Vikings, were down so much that they had to abandon the running game. So Latavius Murray really got screwed. This was supposed to be the coming out party of
Right.
the fantasy season for Latavius.
Right. And how you avoid getting yourself in that situation, Dillon?
What's that?
By starting the quarterback you drafted in the third round.
I mean, I can't be mad about that. Yeah. Oh, man.
Next game, we'll go Chalupa Batman versus Joe Buck Yourself. And
Yeah, and just to kind of put the bow on that last game, I want to say one more thing. Stumtavius is going to, however his season goes, this is going to be one of those games he looks back and says, that was the one I should have got.
Yep.
So this one stings. This one is a stinger.
That's going to be a real important game.
Yeah. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So next game coming in, Chalupa Batman versus Joe Buck Yourself. I don't believe any of us expected Joe Buck Yourself to win this game.
No. No.
He could have. I mean, Chalupa Batman had a 94% coach rating and only put up 140 this week. Joe Buck could have had an optimal 156, but...
Right. This is one of those games Chalupa Batman's going to look back and say, wow, that was lucky.
Yeah, she was lucky she was playing against Joe Buck. Kenyon Drake, I mean, I don't fault Joe Buck for playing Kenyon Drake. He laid an absolute 4 points. Like, that's terrible.
Yeah.
Stephon Diggs, only 5.7 against Buffalo. That's rough.
I'm just looking through, because we were talking about luck. Joe Buck Yourself's luck is so low in this season. We're talking -11, -44, -11. Chalupa Batman, +44, +67 luck.
Oof.
So we got a lucky team on our hands.
But if you remember last year, she was the one that always went up against the high
and
score.
she'll be the first to remind us. She was upset last year, and I'm speaking for her here, but she did get the rough edge. She had so many high-scoring weeks and just always got matched up against the better team.
All right, that settles all the last week's game. Let's go ahead and go on to this week.
Yeah.
First game we're going to look at is Captain McGee versus Breaker of Chains.
Okay.
This might be my first loss of the week.
Ooh, calling a loss?
Christian McCaffrey has been carrying my team. Fortunately, he's on the bye week right now. And though,
I know. What a time for a bye week.
my wide receivers are pretty strong.
I just want it to be known that having a week 4 bye week is awful for a team.
Who does that?
Like, now you have 12 straight games.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that is awful.
It's so early in the season.
Is it that hard? I wish teams would have the bye week the week before their Thursday night game.
That'd be amazing, but then again, they would have less Thursday night games.
Because for me, Vikings, obviously, we're playing tomorrow against the Rams, which I think is a huge reason we laid that goose egg, is because we're sandwiched in between the Packers and the Rams on a Thursday night. Ugh. I'm scared. But man, Christian McCaffrey coming on that bye week after having probably the 3 best weeks, other than like Alvin Kamara.
He's carrying my team, and I think a lot of people would love to have him on the team right now. And this is all without touchdowns. He has 15.5, 29.5, and 27 points without scoring a single touchdown this year.
Yeah, that's incredible, actually.
Right? So he's consistent production, like dependable, and does not need touchdowns, not touchdown dependent. So it's pretty good.
I mean, and I haven't watched much Panther tape. But, how are they using him? Are they using him in that slot, or is he strictly that running back like normal?
They've been using him like a running back. It's just gave him 30 carries last week.
Yeah, 184 yards.
That's nuts.
With no touchdowns.
No touchdowns. Just stops him right before he gets there. But, yeah, this is
crazy.
This is the week Bucks are going to go up against Chicago. What is it, Pug?
With a surprise appearance from the Pug.
Bucks are going up against Chicago, which is going to be a tricky one, especially if it rains like they're calling it to be. It could be very rough for the Bucks' aerial attack. We know we can't run the ball, so could be in trouble. That might be my first loss of the week. So
yeah, I mean that Houston team. If O'Brien doesn't get fired tomorrow, good lord, I got money on him actually being the first coach fired, because that Houston team is trash. But I think Luck, if he doesn't get traded, is going to be, that high point. I think this should be the game that he comes out with, especially being in a dome. I don't know. Ezekiel against Detroit, Sanders against Kansas City could go off. Lockett could go off. Yeah, he's got some juicy matchups over there.
he does. He's got some very juicy matchups. His wide receiver core is really weak, but You know,
But he's got nice matchups for him.
he's got nice matchups. He's got nice matchups. And maybe Gronkowski will wake up and start scoring some points again. Who knows?
Yeah, you can't count on the Patriots having, 3 straight weeks of just utter shit football?
Right. So let's move on to the next game here. Montana.
What's our predictions? What's our predictions for that?
I think I'm going to lose.
Okay. Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
And you know what's funny is I will blame it all on the Raiders for you losing.
Really?
For giving Khalil Mack to the Chicago Bears.
Oh, right. Yeah.
You got guys going against them, which I think the Bears defense is so legit. So
Very good. Khalil Mack is just so good.
yeah.
So,
Anyway,
it's
that's
disgusting.
We're going to be talking about that all year. Rightly so, though, because it was so stupid.
So stupid. So we got Joe Buck yourselves versus the Montana Muskeloaders, 2-1 versus 0-3.
Mm-hmm.
Joe Buck yourself projected to score more points.
The digs against the Rams is scary, but now that I keep Talib's out, that's a little better. I like his matchups. I do. You got Carson against Arizona if he gets, some carries like he did last week. Kerryon Johnson looks like the real deal.
Yeah.
Kenyon Drake looks fine. That Miami defense, or that Miami team, let's see if they can keep it going.
He picked up
that
Kenny
O.J.
Golladay.
Howard's, yeah, exactly. Golladay. Joe Buck, if this is a week, you got to break into the win column, man. You have to. This is a must-win. This is a must-win for Joe Buck. You cannot go 0-4.
I think he has a chance. I definitely think he has a chance this week. Matchups aren't looking so good on the other side. I'm going to call it Montana Muskeloaders does not reach his projected 145 points.
No, I'm looking at those. Those are some nasty matchups. Woods against Minnesota, Rudolph against the Rams. I don't like the Derrick Henry against Philadelphia.
The only one I like is Andy Dalton versus Atlanta, but that's it. That's where it ends.
Yep. I'm looking at his bench. I could see him starting Kenny Stills. I could see him going Amari Cooper. So I don't think this is the lineup we're going to see on Sunday.
Maybe, maybe not. I mean, all those wide receivers are interchangeable in my opinion.
Yeah, my prediction is that Joe Buck goes 1-3 with this one. Plus, you got to feel disrespected if you're Joe Buck. I mean, come on, you're 10th in the power rankings. This is the time you win.
Yeah, you got to win one.
Pull a Bills. Pull a Buffalo Bills.
So let's look here at the next game. Martian Law, the team that's 1-2 and shouldn't be.
Yes.
Versus
I agree.
H-Bug 0-3 should be.
So there are reports that Fournette plays. There's reports that Cook plays. So we can safely assume those two get into the lineup.
I don't think that's enough. Do something about your wide receivers, H-Bug.
You're right. Those wide receivers are just so bad.
They're so bad. Martial Law takes it.
Yeah, okay, question. And I know we spend way too much time on Olden's team, but do you trade one of those running backs?
You have to.
McCoy, Fournette, Cook.
You absolutely have to. You gotta. If I was him, I would be calling you and say, what wide receivers will you give me for Dalvin Cook? I would be asking for 2 wide receivers from your team for Dalvin Cook, and I think you might be able to take it.
Here's my offer right now on the pod. Choose any of these 2 wide receivers, and they're yours for Dalvin Cook. T.Y. Hilton, Allen Robinson, Josh Gordon.
Pick 2.
2 of those.
Pick 2.
Pick 2 of them. And here's the thing. He wanted Thielen earlier in the year. Guess what? Value for Dalvin Cook has gone down, sir. Nobody's giving you a Thielen for Dalvin Cook. Not with that injury, not with how we looked against the Bills. So if you want to, and guess what? If you took any of those 3, T.Y. Hilton, Allen Robinson, Josh Gordon, guess what? You're starting both of them over what you got.
He is.
So, do it. Holden, hit me up.
Let's see if he does it.
Yep.
Chalupa Batman versus Temtavious Roboclick. Temtavious is 1-2, and again, he should be 2-1 had he just started Aaron Rodgers. Look at that, Aaron Rodgers in the starting lineup this week.
And by the way, we're both going with Martial Law winning that.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Why are we even talking about that?
Okay, okay.
Though, if there
We should be
was,
keeping track of our predictions. Just
we should. We should. It might be too late now. We could just start
yeah,
a new one.
we could go back and listen to the old ones and
We could, and then just tally them up.
yep. Okay.
All right. Anyway, we got. Let's see here. It's projected Chalupa Batman blowout.
Let's see if that's going to be the lineup he starts. The answer is probably yes.
I think so.
Todd Gurley being the worst matchup she's got, but he's matchup proof, so
Doesn't
yeah.
matter. Does not
Yep.
matter. And it's a Thursday night game.
Yeah.
Not enough time to prepare for Todd Gurley, I don't think.
No, and I mean, on Thursday night, you have to just rely on the bread and butter of your team.
Yep.
You simplify the playbook. You just say, we're going to run Todd Gurley 30 times.
Yep.
Because we got the 10-day off after that, so got to do it.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything that's going to save him. I think Simtavia is going to go 1-3. Chalupa goes 3-1.
Here's my question, though. Let's try to think about this. Maybe this could be a new segment that we play around with, an idea of one. If we ever have a team that is looking like they're the underdog, because we can easily say Stump is the underdog in this game, what will it take for him to pull off the upset? Because I like that idea. Like, what would it take?
Right. What does he need, right?
I mean, he needs a touchdown from John Brown and Geronimo Allison. He needs those two to score a touchdown.
I mean, he does have the Aaron Rodgers, Geronimo Allison stack.
Right. So if they score two touchdowns together, that's looking real pretty.
That would look real pretty if they go 2 that way. How
Yes.
many touchdowns has Geronimo Allison scored this year? He's got 2 of 3, so two out of the 3 games he scored.
Right. And here's the thing. Kirk Cousins is a fumble machine. If the Rams can cause 3-4 fumbles, pair those up with 3-4 sacks, we're looking at a 20-point Rams game. So I think he needs a perfect storm of his lower wide receivers. All of them have to score touchdowns, especially with the Aaron Rodgers stack. And then the Rams have to put up a 20-pointer for me.
I think him overperforming is not really what it's going to take for him to win. I think Chalupa Batman underperforming, and I can see it happening. Keenan Allen, for some reason, does not score points against San Francisco. Maybe they run the ball and San Francisco can't really get on the board.
Okay.
Passing game is not really there. Keenan Allen doesn't go for too many points. Deshaun Watson, maybe people just have divisional opponent. Maybe they just have him locked down. They know how to defend against him. Maybe Deshaun Watson disappoints.
I saw a crazy stat about Deshaun today. Out of all the quarterbacks in the league, he is third in completed passes over 15 yards.
Really?
Yeah, I wouldn't have put him on that list.
I mean, he
You
is a
had to ask
gunslinger.
Yeah, with how bad their season's going right now, I wouldn't have put him up there.
I haven't watched
But I
any
guess
Texans
it's because
game.
he has to chuck it because they're down.
Yeah, maybe that's it. I just haven't watched any of their games, so I really don't
Right.
have any input.
Yeah.
And then game of the week right here: House of Priapism versus My Dad Owns a Dealership.
Yes, sir.
This is probably going to be a very high-scoring game. 2 very high-scoring teams, both 2-1, both have something to prove.
Yeah. This is, for some reason, I feel like, and this could probably be my bias, but my schedule's been pretty damn hard. I
Yeah,
played Martian Law, McGee, Priapism in my first 4 weeks. Are you kidding me?
that's really rough.
So it's been a true test of my early team.
You're
So
still
we'll see if
2-1.
Yeah.
You're still 2-1.
I mean, I'm excited about everything on my team except for the Qs next to Alvin Kamara and Jay Ajayi. Those need to go away. Go away.
You especially need Alvin Kamara. Like, he has taken your team and put it on his back.
Yeah. And here's the thing. He was my number 1 pick. So I think it's the fantasy football karma god saying, listen, we fucked you last year with the number 1 pick. So let's have your number 1 pick be a baller.
Yeah, this year. God, I'm so killing myself for not picking Kamara in the first round. He was right
I'm
there.
surprised he wasn't highly valued as other people passed on him too. I mean, considering Ingram's out, considering that's a high scoring team, we saw what he can do in a PPR league. So, I mean, the writing was on the wall for you guys.
Right. I just thought that David Johnson would come in and just be legit all year long, where Alvin Kamara might slow down at the end of the season.
But then you got the STD on that team, Sam Bradford, I think is what it's called. So, God, dude, that he just kills teams. And like,
how does he still have a job?
Because he completes 80% of the passes, and
They're-
coordinators are like orgasm over that shit.
But
They're like, oh, he doesn't turn the ball over. Ugh.
They're all short passes.
Yeah, it's awful. Believe me, I watched him.
Yeah, it's so gross.
He's a walking ace bandage. Just gets hurt all the time.
So, Priapism seems like he's got his roster set. He's got Melvin Gordon going up against San Francisco, like I said.
Oh, I'm doing him dirty this week. I will not put in anyone until the end time.
No?
Like, we're talking, you're only going to see the people playing on Thursday night in my roster tomorrow.
Who's that going to be?
You know, Thielen's going in. Period.
He has to.
I mean, here's the thing. Thielen, in that 27-6 game, still had 14 catches, 19 targets. Good lord. Dude, look at his targets. 12, 13, 19. The dude gets targets.
Yeah, but they're all short passes.
Look at his points, though.
I mean, when you catch 12 points in a PPR, that's kind of what happens.
Yep, 16, 31, 24, with only one touchdown on the year.
Jesus, 19 targets last game? What is this? 19 targets in one game?
But here's the thing. He has the second best hands in the game. He's going. That's the reason a quarterback throws it that many times, because he catches them.
Right.
So,
Probably open, too. I mean,
he's
gotta have help.
He came out of nowhere, and he's good as hell.
It's because he's white.
I'm
telling
you're
you.
not wrong. You're not wrong.
It's like there's something against white skill players in the NFL that they're just. It's kind of like Jeremy Lin didn't get any attention just because he's Asian in the NBA.
Yeah.
There's something about it. There's people just don't think
Which-
they're as fast.
Same thing on like defensive backs. You rarely see like white defensive backs.
Yeah,
But what's funny is the Vikings have two of them.
and they're both really good.
Yep. Very intelligent. And safety, that's a skill safeties get underrated on, is just IQ.
I mean,
Earl Thomas is up there. Jesus, Earl Thomas is a genius.
it's got to be able to read those plays. It's kind of just when to switch off to one guy, when to switch off to another.
Yep. And
It's not easy. It's not easy.
All right.
I think you lose, my friend.
You know, that would hurt me. You know what's funny, as I will let everybody in on one last thing from my end. I call a terrible weekend a poop trifecta.
Mm-hmm.
What that is when my college team loses, my fantasy team loses, and my NFL team loses. It's the worst weekend known to man. And it's one of the worst feelings ever. And these coming weeks have those type of feels because Florida State's awful. I'm going against a really good team in fantasy. The Vikings lost to the damn Bills.
And now you're playing the Rams.
Yeah, so it's like,
Incoming
please don't do this to
depression.
me. Yeah. Luckily, though, or actually, I don't even want to say luckily. On Saturday, I get my latest LSAT score. So if that goes poorly, and then I have two flag football games on Saturday, if those go poorly, it could be the, Pentagon poopfecta. It's going to be a really bad weekend.
It's going to be the Taco Bell diarrhea.
Oh, God. This is going to be bad.
And that wraps it up. You think you're going to win this week, or?
Yes.
All right.
I'm going to wish it into existence.
All right. Any hot takes before we close off the show?
Hot take, Holden, if he doesn't make a trade, will not win a game this year.
A single one.
Not one.
I think those running backs are too good.
Not one. Hot take. Wait. Here's my NFL hot take. You ready?
Yep.
And I'm gonna throw it back. The Browns win on the road in Oakland.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, see,
Yeah, I
now
can see
everybody's
that.
not shitting on me. Look at how they almost beat New Orleans. Oh.
I mean, kind of like I've been saying, Tyrod Taylor is one of the worst quarterbacks that keeps getting paid.
Yo, that team is fucking stacked with talent, though. That defense is dirty.
Defense is so good. That's really
Like
what's
them and
carrying
the
him.
Bears, like low key, some of the best defenses in the game.
Myles Garrett is a beast.
Yeah. Finally, 2 of their first round picks paid off: Baker Mayfield and Myles Garrett. So good for them.
Ward is also
good
looking
for you.
good. Remember how much people were shitting on Denzel Ward pick?
Yeah.
And now he's like, then you don't see cornerbacks
Yeah.
coming into the league and being good in their first year, and he's tearing
Right.
it up.
And I mean, here's the thing. Good for sucking, the Browns. You earned this. You really did. Good job.
Browns fans earned this more than anybody.
Yeah. I just always laugh because the NFL is such a hard, they try so hard to get every team to 8-8 by rewarding
Right.
the shit teams,
Right?
and then just shitting on the good teams. So it's like, oh, everybody be 8-8. So good on you for finally getting to 8-8.
Congratulations.
Yeah, congrats.
Oh man. Yeah, I think we're good.
Cool.
All right.
Next week, I better not be on this show.
Yeah, somebody else get on here.
Yeah.
Have a good night, everybody.
All right. Good night, everybody.